Let her go home. Let her go home. Let her go home. Yeah. Let her go home.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hello.
our TokiTV, our gathering each and every week as we gather for SkaliCh'elh-tenaut. As you all know, today we are gathering to honor Kiska, the TokiTV team, and everyone who gathers every week is gathering today to honor this beautiful soul and hold each other up. Because we know that people are having a hard time, understandably, and so we're going to hold each other up and hold up all who knew and loved Kiska. We'll do some quick just hellos, and then we'll get ourselves grounded for the day. I'm just going to go in order on my screen. Deb Cruz, how are you today?
Hanging in there.
Thanks for being here. As always, it doesn't work unless Deb Cruz is here. Christine?
I'm very happy to be here and support Kiska today, and it's all about her.
Thanks for being with us, Christine. And Christine especially wanted to join because every time we get together in prayer, Christine wants to be part of that, and we really appreciate that. Christina, how are you?
I'm okay. I just want to be here for Kiska and honor her because she was a beautiful soul.
Thank you for being here. Case and Stephanie, thank you guys for joining us. You're on mute, but you guys want to say, oh, now you're not. You want to say hello?
Hello from cold Minnesota. Yeah. Can I just say, but yes, we're happy to be here to show our love for Kiska.
Thank you. We really appreciate you guys being here. Ben, we have Ben with us from Belgium. Ben, hello.
Hey, hello there. An honor to be here for Kiska, for every one of you. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. You guys will see today at the end a tribute video that Ben made, and he tagged me in that. So I called him immediately and said, you should probably be on the show today, and he accepted. So Ben, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. Your heart just shows through on every post you make, and we're honored that you're with us. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Everything for Kiska today.
Yeah, thank you. Alejandro.
Yeah, we are here for Kiska. We love Kiska. We support Kiska. We here, and we will pray for Kiska.
Thanks, Alejandro. Howard, thanks for being with us.
Yes, I just rushed in from seeing J-Pod at a great distance, but they're still in the neighborhood. So after this, I just may go back out and try to get some better shots.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I'm sure you will share those with all of us. If you do, thanks for bringing that energy in the room.
Well, I'm always grateful to be here, and thanks to everyone else for being here to show some love and respect for Kiska.
Yeah. Well, there is no TokiTV without Alejandro and Howard. So thank you for being here. Lots of comments coming in. Deb Cruz is gonna have her hands full today, I'm sure. Let's go ahead and get ourselves centered, and then I'll kind of explain how today's going to work. So everyone, I'm going to unmute everyone. If you've done this with us before, we take 3 deep breaths on our own, and when we let it out loudly, sounding like a big giant orca pod. So everybody on your own, go ahead and take 3 breaths, and with each breath, just release whatever's in your space that is not serving you. Okay, let's go ahead and do that now. 3 breaths. Now let's do 3 breaths together, Try to do it at the same pace. When we breathe in, we're going to breathe in super slowly to the count of 7, hold for 3, and then release for the count of 7. When we breathe in, we're going to breathe in peace. And when we breathe out, we're going to breathe out love. So let's go ahead and do that now. Breathe in slowly. Hold. Release slowly. Go ahead and breathe in, breathing in peace. So much peace, thinking of Kiska, her family, and all those who love her. Hold and breathe out love for all of everyone who's joining, everyone who's thinking of Kiska, everyone who's grieving. One more time, let's breathe in peace. And then breathe out love. Thank you. Just slow our breathing down a little bit, get ourselves ready for today. I'm going to mute. If you guys need to say something, just wave at me, okay? I'm going to mute people so there's no background noise. And just to kind of let you know how we're going to do today, we were going to do 47 minutes of silence, 47 minutes to honor her 47 years. But I reached out to Diane Fraleigh, and I'm sure you all have seen her posts or heard of her. And she was gracious enough to do an interview with me yesterday. And so we recorded that. And that interview is about 24 minutes. So I think what we'll do is we'll do 10 minutes of silence, and then I'll play that video. We'll do 10 more minutes of silence, and then we'll end with a beautiful video that Ben did to honor Kiska. So for those of you at home, it's up to you. You guys could put your hands up in blessing position. You don't have to. If you feel comfortable doing that during our time of silence, this time is to honor her and, again, all who knew and loved her. So we'll go ahead and start that 10 minutes now. And again, this is complete silence.
So the first time I met Kiska was about 30 years ago. At that time, she was being held at Waldorf Stadium, which is the performing tank at Marineland. And I had never been to Marineland before. I went with a friend, and they brought the dolphins out, and I started to get uncomfortable. And then they brought the belugas out, and it got a little worse. And then they brought Kiska out, and my heart just broke. I burst into tears. I ran out of the stadium, and I actually threw up in a garbage can. And I remember thinking to myself, there's nothing I can do about this, and how wrong it was. And then fast forward 20 years, I met the president of Ontario Captive Animal Watch, and she invited me to join her organization. And Ontario Captive Animal Watch does investigations of zoos and aquariums, and they also educate the public. And the president of OCA had been visiting Marineland weekly, every weekend, and observing Kiska. And Kiska, I went with her on a few occasions. Kiska was an absolutely magnificent animal. And there's just one thing I would like to share is that, and this is my view of Kiska. People are free to disagree, but from my experience in visiting Kiska, which is also substantiated by Dr. Ingrid Visser, who attended numerous times to check in on Kiska. She would travel from New Zealand to Toronto to observe Kiska, is that she was a very, very active orca. She would swim always counterclockwise, never breaking her pattern, which is disturbing because it is a stereotypical behavior. But Ingrid had said to me that she's seen every single captive orca in the world. And she said Kiska is one of the most active orcas. And she said that was a positive thing because she had a will to live. And she did. She lost 5 of her babies. She was a great mother, according to one of Kiska's trainers. And she still was carrying on and, being active and trying to keep herself enriched. She would self-enrich herself by chasing seagulls, and I do believe she caught a couple. She loved her belly rubs, absolutely loved her belly rubs. She would ask for them of her trainers. When they stopped giving her a belly rub, you could tell she was disappointed. But sadly, that was one of the only sources of enrichment that Kiska ever received. Dr. Visser came here in 2015, and she went with me to the provincial government because they were preparing standards of care for marine mammals. And Ingrid gave them a number of examples of how Marineland could increase or add to Kiska's enrichment. One of them was a wave machine that it would be a button and Kiska could push it herself. Another was to change up her feeding schedule, like maybe feed her less but more times a day and at different times. Just something to get her out of her own head, because as we know, Kiska was the only captive orca who lived in complete social isolation from any other marine mammal. I'm not saying that a dolphin is enough for an animal, but she held that distinction, and she didn't perform. They never asked her to do tricks when she was retired to Friendship Cove. They just would say, oh, she's retired, we just let her do what she wants. But that's lazy, I believe. And Kiska needed more enrichment to break her stereotypies. And now I'd like to discuss a couple of videos that have been circulating on social media. And one of them is of her logging for, I don't know, maybe a minute, under a minute. And another one, she's thrashing her body against the glass wall of her tank. It has been said that she was bashing her head. We have observed Kiska doing this stereotypical behavior for a decade. She never once contacted her head with the partition, with the glass wall or plastic wall. And I sent that video that was circulating to a number of experts, one of them being Dr. Ingrid Visser. We also obtained underwater footage of her doing this activity, and it appeared that she was rubbing her mammary slit against the tank. And Ingrid drew from that she was itchy and that she may have some sort of yeast infection. And John Hargrove, when we asked him after he saw the video, he said that on a scale of 1 to 10 of that being a self-harming behavior was a 0. And then he described what it actually sounds like and feels like when an orca hits his head against the tank. So I feel sad that people think that she was self-harming. We never saw any self-harming behavior other than her teeth were worn to the gum line from chewing on the concrete walls, which many orca in captivity do. But I believe that's more of a boredom thing than a self-harm. I don't think they mean to grind their teeth down. Jeff Ventry said that Kiska has arguably the worst teeth he's ever seen in any whale in captivity. She had to get her teeth flushed out twice a day, sometimes 3 times. And, you know, when orcas have their teeth, their holes in their teeth exposed like that, it's very easy for them to get infections. So, you know, she was on a myriad of drugs. You know, if an animal has to be on drugs to be in a cage, they shouldn't be in the cage. And with respect to the logging, well, any orca is going to log for a few seconds. It's, you know, observing them, like Dr. Visser, she would observe Kiska all day. She'd be there for 8 hours with her camera, set up on a tripod, observing Kiska. And I just think it's a misrepresentation of who Kiska was. I just want people to know that she wasn't self-harming, and she did have a will to live, and she was very active. We had someone go into Marineland in October, and the thrashing behavior had stopped. She was there for 3 days, and Kiska didn't do that behavior once. So we think maybe Marineland actually addressed, if it was an itching problem, that maybe they finally addressed that. Her fluke wasn't bleeding, which it had been bleeding for years. So they were giving her more enrichment. I'm not, you know, giving Marineland any props here because of, you know, the misery that Kiska went through being there. But I do think that at the end they were trying to answer some of Ingrid's concerns. Kiska's ex-trainer had said what a great mother she was. She said that Kiska would trick the trainers into giving her more food. In 2015, Carly Ferguson or 2014, I believe she started doing this, from Ontario Captive Animal Watch, wanted to try and get Kiska moved so that she wouldn't be alone. And she followed our premier around to events and to luncheons and had a stack of pictures of Kiska. And it got to the point where the premier just threw up her hands and said, fine, we'll introduce a bill. So the province did introduce a bill ending the captivity of orcas, just orcas, in the province of Ontario. And we spoke at that bill in legislature, and we asked that Kiska be moved. At the time, Marineland said she's too sick to move, which all aquariums and zoos say, because they don't want to lose their cash cow. And ideally, we would have liked her to go to sanctuary, but no sanctuary existed. So they passed the bill, they grandfathered Kiska, and everybody celebrated the bill. But for us, it was very bittersweet, because really what we did was condemn Kiska to live in isolation from any other marine mammal, or from her own species. And so we really didn't celebrate that bill. I understand it prevented any other orcas from suffering Kiska's fate, and that's a good thing, but it didn't help Kiska. Then and it was after that that Ingrid came and spoke to the government, now that we knew she had to stay there, about how to make her living conditions a little bit better by providing her more enrichment, cleaning the tanks. Those suggestions that Ingrid made were actually put into the standards of care for marine mammals. Shade was one of them. Kiska has no shade, had no shade. And so they were put into the standards of care. However, Marineland didn't implement them, and the government didn't enforce it. So that's unfortunate. Then in 2000 and I'm not sure what year it was, but Senator Wilfred Moore introduced the Bill S-203, which would end the captivity of all cetaceans in Canada. And it took us a long time to get that passed. We had a lot of opposition from a certain senator. And the bill was finally passed. And again, there's no sanctuary. Although Ingrid and I spoke with the senator that took over the bill when Senator Moore retired, and we had him add into the bill a clause saying that because the bill ended breeding, importation, and exportation, and grandfathered the animals. So what we asked for was that the bill included a clause saying that Kiska could be moved if it was in her best interest. We couldn't say Kiska can be moved to sanctuary because there was no sanctuary. So that was the best we could do, and that clause was accepted, and that clause sits there to today, that Kiska could be moved if it was in her best interest. Frustratingly, I guess a sense of urgency wasn't as strong in others as it was in us. I'm very sad and angry about that. I believe that Kiska, she just succumbed to her illness, and I don't think her illness would have occurred had she been in the ocean in a sanctuary. And that makes me very sad and very angry and very frustrated. And I guess that's all I have to say about that. I do want to say that it has never been my desire to ever be the loudest voice in the room. We do things quietly, behind the scenes. Things that we do for Kiska have to be secret. I can't divulge a number of things that we have been doing in order to set her free. However, I just want it to be known that we have never, ever stopped fighting for Kiska, and that she really, really deserved to see the ocean, and that we are relieved that her suffering is over. I'll tell you something about Ingrid. That woman, she came numerous times to check on Kiska. She spoke at the Senate. She came twice on her own dime to speak at the Senate in support of Bill S-203. She came to Toronto to go to the Ontario legislature to help them draft standards of care for marine mammals with Kiska in mind. She is the most altruistic, dedicated human I have ever met. And she has helped us so, so much. And I think that Kiska would want to thank her. You know, she did love life. And I just want people to know that. I mean, people can disagree with me, but my takeaway from having seen Kiska and from Ingrid having observed her for hours and hours and hours, and Carly as well, she did have a will to live. And she was not self-harming. That's my takeaway. Other people may have a different view. And if they had been with her for hours and hours at a time, then that's fair. But she did have a zest for life. And I think after her last calf died is when she became quite despondent. And, you know, just went into herself. And, you know, the stereotypies got. What she would do is she would swim counterclockwise, always counterclockwise, never clockwise. She would get to a certain point at her tank and she would thrash a bit, and then she would slap her fluke, and then she would move on. And then maybe another 20, 50 rotations, she would do the same thing. In October, she had stopped doing that. She had stopped. I mean, she was still swimming sometimes counterclockwise, but she was doing other things. They were more, I think she had a new trainer who was paying more attention to her, giving her more belly rubs. Maybe they had, you know, changed her feeding schedule up, but she, you know, we had hope in October that she was coming out of being inside her head. And then she just succumbed to, well, I mean, we don't actually know what she succumbed to. They said it was a bacterial infection, but we're never going to see the results of the necropsy. It's not going to happen. We would have liked to have seen Kiska's remains go to Iceland. We would have raised the money to have that happen. But we started a movement to have her remains treated respectfully, but you know, they got rid of her pretty quickly. So
what are the traits, if you will, or the personality features, memories that when people think of Kiska, what do you want them to remember the most about her?
well, first of all, you can't look at Kiska and not think of the word magnificent. She was a magnificent animal. She was gentle. She was a good mother. So she was nurturing. She had an incredible will to live. She was sad. We have a picture that's just going around social media. We have a picture of Kiska, her eye, and you can tell she's sad. She's sad for all that she's lost. I know that's not a good trait, but that's a trait that she had. She was playful. She didn't like toys, and they didn't play with her the way we did, but she was playful. To me, she was spiritual. She was wise. She was resigned. Sadly. She was strong. She was very strong. I forgot to use the most important word, lonely. Lonely describes Kiska. How could she not be lonely? But I feel like she was also the unknown whale. In our years of advocating for Kiska, it was very, very difficult to get people on board with her. People didn't even really know about Kiska until Carly started advocating for her. And I've always found that sad. She wasn't a popular whale. But on the other hand, if she was, I think we would have had a lot harder time advocating for her.
Thank you, Diane. I know this was hard, and but she deserves to be honored and away from someone who loves her, just someone who loves her. And I want everyone to know who she was and who she is. Where do you think she is? Her spirit.
I hope that she's swimming in the ocean.
Yeah.
I hope that she's swimming in the ocean. I hope she's breaching. I hope she's catching fish. She likes herring and the occasional squid. I hope she's in Iceland. And I think that's the only thing that can give me any peace.
What do you think she's feeling right now? She's home with her, her family and her offspring.
If she is, she's definitely feeling relief. I think she's feeling like she's a bit like Job in the Bible. She was a very patient orca. She was very patient. And joy. Relief, peace, joy, happiness. That's a nice thing to think about. She was just a sweetheart.
And now we'll have 10 more minutes of silence. Thank you. We're gonna end today with a video that Ben created in honoring Kiska, and I don't want to shift the energy by doing too much talking, but I do want to, Howard, if there's anything you want to say, it's up to you, but if there's anything you want to say now would be okay.
Only I'm very thankful for Diane Fraleigh for sharing so much. I learned from her more about Kiska than I ever knew. I hardly knew her. I just didn't have any way to know her, but Diane has given us that way. And Ingrid, of course. I have seen Ingrid's dedication with Toki to be there again and again and document and photograph and provide us those remembrances and those glimpses into Toki's life and into Kiska's. That's so valuable. Thank you, Diane. And I so appreciate all of us here for honoring and showing our love and affection and respect for Kiska.
Thank you. Like we did last week, I'm gonna just unmute everyone, and if you guys will say with me out loud, put your hands up. Put it on the screen too. Kiska, we love you and we respect you.
Kiska,
Kiska, we love
respect
you
you.
and we respect
Love
you.
you and respect you.
2 more times. Kiska,
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 Kiska, we love you and we respect you.
respect you.
Love you and respect
1 more time.
Kiska.
Kiska,
Kiska, we love
We love
you
you
and we
and
respect you.
respect you.
go ahead and mute everyone again. And Ben, thank you for this video. Diane, thank you for that heartfelt conversation yesterday and for teaching us so much, and also for giving us the insight and knowledge as to who she is, because we're going to keep thinking about her. And I want to think about her as the strong, magnificent, beautiful being that she is, and the thoughts of her swimming in the ocean with her family, peace, joy, relief, like you said, happiness. Those are the thoughts I'm going to carry forward as I think of Kissa. So thank you, Diane. We appreciate you. Okay.